All right, welcome everybody. I'm told it's 6 o'clock and we're ready to begin. I'd like to call us to order. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws, 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, agenda of this meeting: the Herald, Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. Mr. Murphy may be joining us a little bit later. He's at his son's football game tonight, so we've got just 6 of us this evening. If I could ask you all to please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. We have a full house tonight. We've got some exciting things on the agenda. You guys have all received a copy of it. Were there any adjustments or corrections?
No, ma'am.
All right, then that will stand with unanimous consent, and we'll get straight into some of our special recognition. You're going to do the first one, right?
Right.
Well, yes, there is. There's a school.
Oh, yeah, we put them on there. Well, like Christy said, this is a special night. Each year, this is really a time of celebration. There's no words that I can say that can describe how much these people have meant to the district that we're honoring tonight, the 25 and 30-year employees. If you think about how many people they've touched, how many lives they've touched, it's just kind of incredible. I'm seeing faces in the crowd that I even taught when I was a teacher in Fort Mill years ago. So it's just amazing to me how quickly time flies. But this is certainly nothing that we would like to give you way more than what we're going to give you. But the honor, I hope the honor will be something special to you. But before I do that, to go along kind of with retention strategies, if you probably read in the paper, or nobody reads the paper anymore, you probably read online. The Forbes list the Fort Mill School District as a top 10 employer in South Carolina. I think that's pertinent tonight because these folks are evidence that people stay here for a while. Now, I'll talk about another angle of that in a minute. But Forbes partnered with market research company Statista to compile their 4th annual list of America's best employers by state. Joe, didn't we get something last year?
We did. We were also noted by Forbes that we were one of the best employers in South Carolina previously as well.
Okay, I thought we did, but I couldn't. The list is divided into 51 rankings, one for each of the 50 states, plus the District of Columbia. It was compiled by surveying 70,000 Americans working for businesses with at least 500 employees. And I'll make a comment in the press release that it's a priority of the board and our district administration to maintain a positive and supportive work environment for all employees. And I talk about the family atmosphere. And the reason I talk about that is, and the folks who have been hired here and who work here have heard this ad nauseum from me. Try to make it as we're growing, try to make where every school feels like a family, so you'll have that small district feel, small like we used to be. Everybody loves smaller schools, smaller grades, but we're a victim of our own success, and so many people have moved here that we're trying to maintain the family atmosphere. The exit surveys reveal from our employees over the past, how many years, Liza, reveal that the thing that impressed them the most was at each school site, they felt like it was family, and they felt so welcome. So and they don't have to say that. It's a survey, and they don't have to sign their name. So that tells me that is permeating through the principals. I talk to the principals about it each month, and I think it's permeating to our staff. So I think, and I mention that because you can look and see that we've got how many 25-year folks? About 13 or. Okay, and so what I need to add though, this used to be 2 tables full. So now what's happening, we're having the graying of the teaching force, and a lot of the veterans are, and a lot of the newcomers too, a lot of the veterans are opting out of the profession, and these folks are joining that group. When we had the opening orientation this year, I had all the the 1,500 teachers in the room. This did not include the support staff. Many of the board members were there. I had the staff to raise their hand if they had been hired in the last 5 years, and it was probably 3/4 of the crowd. It was a lot. So what our challenge going forward is to maintain the tradition and the excellence when hiring new people, because it takes a while, it just does in this profession, for you to be as honed in your skill as a 25 or 30-year person. So that's our challenge going forward, particularly in light of all the negative criticism of public ed. So please, I thank you for remaining in public ed. I encourage people to do it. It's a calling. It's like being a preacher. You don't get rich, but you do it because of the love for children, and that's why we all got in it. All right, so let's get to the fun part. Make sure okay. Liza, you going to help me, or you want to call their names out, and I'll give them and tell them what they get.
All right, so tonight we have 10 employees that we're honoring for the 25 years of service to Fort Mill Schools, and they will receive a lapel pin with a little diamond. Yep. And the 30-year award, we have 3 employees, and the 30-year award is a gold clock. All right, Dr. Epps, starting with the 25-year employees, Jackie Baxter.
I think so. I looked at them.
No,
Jackie here?
doesn't look
Okay.
good.
All right.
Jackie works in the building. We'll catch up.
All right. Martha Burnett from Riverview Elementary School.
Probably working late.
All right. Dawn Fight, Gold Hill Middle School. Michelle Jolly, Maintenance. Gina Kidd, Sugar Creek Elementary School. Elizabeth Reese, Gold Hill Elementary School. Joylyn Rozwadowski, Riverview Elementary School. Beth Sidwell, Nation Ford High School. Kimberly Therrell, Springfield Elementary School. Sheila Wise, Catawba Ridge High School. All right, our 30-year service awards, Jason Ford, Fort Mill High School. Janet Manis, Fort Mill High School. Mary Thompson, Nation Ford High School.
Okay, I believe you're going to...
Congratulations to all of our
Yes.
winners, and to think there's a whole bunch of 26, 27, 28, 29s that are not here as well. You guys have seen some change and been through a lot, and we appreciate all of your years of service. We have a special recognition, a new school spotlight. I believe Dr. Wakesness is going to.
I'm up here.
There you are. He's going to sort of talk us through this. Yeah?
Yes, so good evening, everybody. Throughout the school year, we will be highlighting a school at the first board meeting of the month. We're excited to share some of the great things we have going on in our schools that we don't always notice and the public doesn't always get to see. When talking with school folks, I often tell them that some of the things that they do on a daily basis that they think are just ordinary, run-of-the-mill things, most people would think they're pretty impressive. So hopefully through this, we will have the opportunity to share some of these things that we might think are everyday, run-of-the-mill things, but are really unique and really different and really give the school the character that it has. So out of this thought, the School Spotlight series was born. Our first school in our series is Orchard Park Elementary. We will hear from them this evening about some of the ways they are working with their special needs students and teaching their school community that sometimes a disability is what makes somebody unique. They have raised money for the Special Olympics. They have led anti-bullying campaigns, raised awareness, and more. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Principal Matthew Johnson.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Board, for this opportunity to share some amazing things that we have at Orchard Park. My name is Matthew Johnson, the school principal, and honored to serve at our great school. Because of people like this who are willing to come here this evening and share the things that we do on a daily basis. One of the goals we have at Orchard Park is to really help students develop social awareness and relationship skills. So as we problem solve what that might look like, we came together as a team of staff and decided what can that look like, and this inclusion project was born. So I want to turn it over to my team and give them an opportunity to share with you what that has looked like for us.
Hi, I'm Amanda Cawthon. I'm lead teacher at Orchard Park. And at our school, all of our classrooms begin their day with what's called a morning meeting. And a morning meeting is a time for them to build classroom community, but also allows the teacher to have direct instruction around social emotional learning and skills. So today we're actually going to model a morning meeting structure or format for you with what we're sharing with you. So the first component of a morning meeting is called a greeting. So we're going to share a modified greeting with you right now.
Can I ask you guys to make sure you're as close as you can be to the microphone? I want to make sure those
Sorry.
watching get the benefit of hearing your updates.
All right, good evening. My name is Erin Martinez, and I'm a third grade teacher at Orchard Park. This is my daughter, Sophia. She's a former student at Orchard Park. She's at Pleasant Knoll now. We're going to lead you through the greeting portion of our meeting. Normally, students would be up, moving around, but for tonight, we're just going to use a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you agree or if the statement doesn't really apply to you. Are we ready? All right. So, I know someone personally who has been impacted by special education services. Thumbs up, you agree. Thumbs down, you disagree or it doesn't apply to you. All right, Sophia.
When I went through school, I learned about different types of disabilities.
So thumbs up or thumbs down? When I was in school, I was exposed to literature where the characters had special needs.
I like to feel like I belong and celebrate with my community. A way I was able to be part of celebrating our community was by entering a design contest to represent what inclusion looks like in my school. My design was selected for our celebration last spring, and it was put on a t-shirt.
Stand over there so they can see it. Thank you.
So the next part of a morning meeting is the teacher will go over the structure or the schedule for the day. This allows the kids in the classroom to have a clear picture of what they'll be learning and doing that day. So our structure or schedule for the day is we are going to be sharing with you about the inclusion activities that were designed for our teachers and students, about how we partnered with One School, One Book, and how we cumulated everything with a big inclusion celebration. And then we're going to have a quick share time at the end. So after the teacher shares about the schedule for the day, then they move into the direct instruction portion of morning meeting. This is usually about 10 minutes of time where they teach or practice a skill around social emotional learning or behavior. So our direct instruction is going to start with sharing with you guys how we developed inclusion activities for our teachers and how they incorporated them in their classroom.
All right, hi, my name is Shannon Pruitt, and I am the K through 2 special settings teacher at Orchard Park. I'm going to read because if I don't, I'm going to forget something really important. So, early in the year, the special services team at Orchard Park had a vision of promoting inclusion and acceptance in our school building. We have a shared passion for students with disabilities, and we decided to spend our time together creating a new way to recognize these kids, and we basically created the Inclusion Celebration Project. The goal was to celebrate these kids and spread love for who they are. We hope this project would bring even more awareness to our already inclusive school family. To achieve this goal, we created lesson plans, fun activities for students, and information for teachers that focused on students and different learning styles within our school population. Over the course of the year, we worked together to create lesson plans about learning disabilities, physical disabilities, dyslexia, hearing impairments, vision impairments, ADHD, intellectual disabilities, autism, speech and language disabilities, and mental health. We embedded videos, read-alouds, and other fun activities so both students and teachers could learn and experience what it might be like to think and learn differently than they might be used to. The lessons were sent out each month, and teachers were asked to incorporate them into their morning meeting. We also planned school-wide events such as National Day of Acceptance, Bully Prevention Month, and World Down Syndrome Day. Through this project, my students in the special settings classroom became more aware that they are not alone. The lessons encouraged confidence for them, which in turn helped them build relationships with their same-age peers. I love that my students were given the opportunity to showcase what makes them unique and help educate their peers. They were also able to share all the ways that they are different, but also all the ways they are the same. I'm also happy to share that this project isn't over yet. Our team has already begun building plans for this year to continue our work in inclusion.
My name is Paisley Ryan, and I'm a 4th grade teacher at Orchard Park. As a 4th grade team, we worked together to use these inclusion lessons embedded throughout our morning meeting time, and we chose to spend about a week learning about each disability. We would begin the week with one of the videos or read-alouds provided to introduce the disability we would be learning about. There were many different read-aloud and videos that were provided to use as supplements throughout the week as well. They all provided helpful, age-appropriate information and usually contained a story that went alongside it about a similar age child living with a disability. We would then engage the students with an interactive activity that allowed the students to experience a piece of the disability and then helped them to better understand the challenges that came with it. My students really connected with the interactive experiences that enabled them to read an excerpt that mimicked what someone with dyslexia would see when they were reading, writing their own name in Braille to understand what their name would feel like when imprinted on a piece of paper, and also having to communicate with each other using only pictures and not words. Through these activities, they were able to discuss with one another the challenges they faced throughout this experience that only lasted 5 minutes, and how it might feel to experience that challenge every day, all day. In my classroom, I found that this created a community that had more empathy towards others, and a space where those in my room that had disabilities felt comfortable to share their own experiences with the class. I loved seeing them open up to each other and recognize that not everyone around them is experiencing the same thing each and every day.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Pollock, and I am the school librarian at Orchard Park Elementary School. One School, One Book is a month-long literacy event that brings together students, staffs, and family centered around one single book. It is graciously funded by the PTO at Orchard Park. Last year, our book choice was this book here, A Boy Called Bat, by Alana Kate Arnold. We chose this book because, as you've heard, we're focusing on the inclusion of all members of our school community. A Boy Called Bat explored themes of acceptance of self and others. Bixby Alexander Tam, as he is affectionately, or Bat, as he is affectionately called by his family, is described by the author as a person with autism. A Boy Called Bat teaches students how to accept all children, no matter their background or their disability. Bat is smart, but he has trouble relating to other characters. Bat much prefers contact with animals. His love for animals brought many Me Too moments between the kids as they talked about their own pets and what a comfort they are for them, no matter how they are feeling on any given day. Each family is given a book to take home, but all students also have access to audio files of each chapter that are voluntarily read by staff members in the building. Dr. Chuck Epps, our school superintendent, even participated last year by reading one chapter.
Using audiobooks is a way for all students to have access to the text regardless of their reading level. The final event of our One School, One Book was a virtual author visit by Alana K. Arnold. Alana lives in California, and she zoomed in for 3 virtual sessions with our students. At each session, students met her pets and also learned how she creates her characters and her stories. Alana shared with us that her brother Z is a person with autism, and he was the inspiration for her book. She encouraged our students to write their own stories based on their life experiences. We got overwhelming positive feedback from teachers, students, and parents about the discussions created by this story. One School, One Book is an excellent way to promote reading for enjoyment and also to discuss tolerance and acceptance over an extended time period. Through positive experiences with reading, we hope to instill lifelong readers in our community, as well as to nurture kind, supportive human beings.
Good evening, I'm Shauna Hoyne, school psychologist, and on March 26th, on a bright, crisp, early Saturday morning, our school community came together to celebrate our inclusion efforts. In preparation for this big event, we decided we wanted to make a greater impact on our larger community, and we decided to raise funds for the Special Olympics. Throughout the month of March, we did this through several events. Teaming up with One School, One Book, we offered QR codes for our families to scan in, donate, and learn more about the learning differences within our school community. We also sold that beautiful t-shirt that was designed by our student, and that was worn on the day of the event. The morning of the event, our teachers and staff participated in a run walk that we earned money throughout the month by accepting donations for different team incentives for our students. This all culminated with our PTO, who provided activities, games, music, and food trucks to make the event a true success. We had a quiet area and a sensory activity, so we were inclusive of all of our students. And to top it off, Mr. Johnson took a pie in the face to celebrate that we made our targeted goals. It was really a day of community, celebration, and inclusion.
So after the direct instruction, a morning meeting ends with a quick share time. We all have stories to share. Here are a few of our stories about how students have been positively impacted at Orchard Park.
My name is Heather Duncan. I am the founder of You Can Discover Change. It is a ministry that goes into the jail and teaches life skills to those in our community. 3 years ago, due to a tragedy, I inherited 2 small children. I have a 17-year history with the Fort Mill School District. I was formerly an employee here for 17 years. So there's always been the motto of children first. I've known that from the position of employer. Now to see it as the grandmother raising 2 children that have experienced great tragedy, I can say nothing less than what a wonderful job Orchard Park has done to make my children feel loved, accepted, safe, and a part of a beautiful community. Thank you.
I'm Adair Yatko, and that was really overwhelming. I didn't realize I was going to get to hear all these things that are going on in the schools that my child's a part of every single day, and it's just amazing. My husband and I have 3 little boys, and 2 of which are at Orchard Park Elementary School. Our oldest is Weston, and he has a rare genetic chromosomal disorder. He was born with a huge, huge heart, and the whole school sees his heart, yet he also has a whole lot of challenges. And I'm so grateful for the whole team at Orchard Park because they've been along this journey with us since day 1. And they've grown with us and grown as his needs have changed. Weston started in kindergarten in Tier 1. He quickly moved into Tier 2, later into Tier 3, then had a 504. And he's currently in 4th grade being serviced with an IEP and even gets psychosocial rehabilitation in the classroom. I'm so grateful because Orchard Park staff, the teachers, the special services department, everyone here has been a part of this journey with us, and it's been really hard as a mom to go through this and to not have a clue how to help your own child. But they've stepped along beside me and my husband and helped to guide us, help support us, And we've worked organically together as a team with our child's best interest in mind. And because of that, he's in a safe place that I know he can go and thrive every single day. And they've got him. Thank you all. Thank you.
Good evening. So we had a last minute parent cancellation. So I am speaking on behalf of Sarah Manucci, who is a parent of 3 fourth-grade boys. And she wanted me to share that her triplet boys were born at 30 weeks and faced a long road of unknown potential. They've been part of the early intervention program offered by the district before they were school age. Their success is a direct result of the teams working together with individual plans and support for each of their children. Orchard Park believed in Luke, Will, and Oliver. They championed for their development inside and outside the classroom. Teachers not only filled them with knowledge, but love, support, and encouragement. They went above and beyond to show up for birthday parties and sporting events. Most importantly, Orchard Park has taught them how to have confidence, believe in themselves, and the value and rewards of effort. For this, we will forever be grateful. And I have the pleasure of introducing our last person who's sharing, which is a former student of ours and a current Fort Mill High School student, Avery Gages.
Hi, my name is Avery Gages, and I am a 10th grader at Fort Mill High School. Dear members of the school board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. My first year of Orchard Park, which I was in 4th grade, I was in a self-contained classroom for my disability. It was very new to me because the elementary school I went to before didn't have that type of classroom. I remember it got to a point where the school, if you will, pretty much gave up on me. And I was homeschooled for the rest of 3rd grade. But Orchard Park was different, a good different. They helped me more than anyone or anything could. No one at Orchard Park ever gave up on me. They pushed me further to excel. By 5th grade, I was mostly in a full settings classroom and doing amazing with my peers and teachers, confident with myself. Now, almost 5 years later, I'm a 10th grade AB student taking college prep classes at Fort Mill High School, doing better than ever, all because of the school and the people that made me who I am today, and I couldn't be more proud to say thank you for everything.
And that concludes our presentation for this evening. We want to thank our district administration for allowing us the opportunity to spotlight some of the work going on at our school. Also, these individuals who took the time out to come present and show you all the wonderful things happening at our school, and the staff that every single day is doing this work. Our motto is all kids are our kids, and we feel like this inclusion spotlight really highlighted that, and we thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Wow, I didn't know what to expect from our first school spotlight. I see all the other principals sitting around going, oh boy, that's a tough act to follow. You guys are awesome. I'm thrilled to be able to include these kind of things in our board meetings going forward. So good call on whoever's idea that was. So.
It's a good idea, it's mine.
Nice job.
Thank you all so much. All right, we have to do real business as well. We do have the minutes from the August 9th and the August 23rd meetings. You all have received copies. Were there any adjustments or corrections to either of those?
Yes, there's corrections to both, and
Okay.
Ms. Pettis and I have already discussed them, and she is making those corrections
Okay.
tonight.
All right, so those will be approved with the
corrections as noted.
adjustments. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any public participation this evening? Okay. Our next item is some reports and information specifically for the School Board Association conference that several of us attended. In fact, I think everybody up here attended 2 weekends ago, 1 weekend, I don't know.
2 weekends.
I went back through my notes. I had about a page and a half of notes when I was preparing for tonight's meeting. I've shared a lot of these things with staff already that were things they needed to be mindful of. This was the law conference, so it was mostly focused on recent cases and rulings. Nationally, we had speakers from national lawyers as well as South Carolina lawyers, and we covered everything from prayers at a 50-yard line to the legal handling of transgender students and situations with First Amendment rights for students and staff. We had breakout sessions that talked about ethics filing requirements for board candidates and the handling of employment issues and some of the challenges that come with managing a large staff of people. And we ended with a legislative update with respect to changes that occurred with the last legislative session. The biggest piece was the funding model and the change in the teacher salary scales, but there were also things having to do with flags and mottos being displayed and personnel finance requirement classes and all of those, all of which the district is appropriately addressing. So I thought it was a very beneficial session. I don't know what you guys would want to add or anything else you would want to share about the meeting.
I can say, yeah, I've been to a lot of these over the years, and this one stands out to me. Not every session was particularly beneficial for me, but there was some good information come out, particularly, like you said, related to the law and what the actual requirements are.
I would agree with you. This was a great conference. It really was. One thing I was particularly appreciative of, I went to a session, and I think there might have been at least one of you in the session where they talked specifically about structures of school board meetings, virtual school board meetings, how we're addressing that, the role of public participation, those types of things. And I'm particularly thankful for our chairperson because we talked a lot about how board meetings are conducted and the challenge that faces the chairperson. And having a strong chairperson is important for keeping the flow of the meeting going. And a lot of people shared some stories about school board meetings that they have, and just made me more appreciative for how our meetings are run.
Yes.
I will also say Dr. Grant from Richland, too, her presentation, she's the Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. Her presentation really put a good lens on how policy and law meet up with some of the things that we're talking about now with diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I thought she did a great job.
So I'll give you a little bit of a different spin, only because of my state role and obligations that go with that. One of the focuses that SCSBA is going to have for the remainder of this year and into probably at least the first half of next year boils and focuses around civility, respect, and solutions. And there is Municipal Association of South Carolina has a cute little note card, and I got some other great information, but they're encouraging, and I believe at SCSBA, it's our intention to start our meetings with a pledge, and I thought I would share it because I thought it was appropriate. I pledge to build a stronger and more prosperous community by advocating for civil engagement, respecting others and their viewpoints, and finding solutions for the betterment of my city or town. So I thought that was worthy of sharing. And other than that, there's several other opportunities for some additional learning that will be available to school board members, school board trustees throughout the remainder of this year and then on into next year. So
I'll just add, based on some of the comments made from other school districts, school board members, that a lot of that doesn't necessarily happen.
right.
So
We're very fortunate in Fort Mill because
We haven't gotten into a fist fight up here yet.
we have not had a fist fight up here, ever.
arm wrestling maybe.
I said yet. Anything could happen. Thank you. Anything else?
But I think it's important that we are 7 very different people, very different backgrounds, very different seasons of life, and yet we are all able to come to agreement or agree to disagree respectfully, and I think we set a good example. But we see that in our staff, too. They do that very often and every day, that there's challenges that you're facing that you don't expect. And I'm just so grateful that we are part of a district who is not in the news for the wrong reasons, but rather we're being highlighted for other reasons. So thank you.
Okay, we do have a staff report from Ms. Lordo with some financial updates.
Thank you and good evening. In your packet tonight, I've included the monthly financials for July. New school year, new fiscal year. So first month of the fiscal year, we're doing okay.
Just to remind you, July is the month where we, as far as expenditures, are lower because we have not run our first full payroll. Only our year-round 240-day contract employees are paid in July. So don't be surprised when you see that number change significantly in August when all of our teachers get paid under the new fiscal year. But for July, our total revenues were $8,471,312. Our expenditures were $5,371,255. So we did have a net increase to our fund balance of $3.1 million. One point I wanted to make, as you've mentioned, we're now under the new funding formula. That's going to look a little different when you look at our monthly financials. It also looked a little different in that we received a full 1/12 of the new funding formula allocation of the new $84 million that's now called aid to classrooms versus base student cost. So that change is indicated with showing a net profit in July. Also, vehicle tax collections, once again, were over $1 million. So they were $1,029,381. But I did want to point out, if you looked at the detail of the financials, you will see under our state revenue categories, it is a much smaller listing of line items as the House and Senate members intended. So we no longer have all of the EFA categories listing out the EFA coding for the different student categories. It's very small now. It's summarized, it's lumped together. And that was the intention of the new state budget this year. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as you review the detail, and going forward in this fiscal year, it will look a little different. Any questions about the monthly financials?
I've got a couple.
Okay, sure.
Actually, I got several, but I'll just hit the highlight one. Act 388 property tax relief. Could you address that and what that is, and does it still apply? And if so, when do we get that?
Act 388 property tax relief is the state portion that is supposed to make up the difference in our taxpayers not paying the school operating millage on their primary residence. I say supposed to make up. I actually recently asked the county to give me an update on the deficit, which is the difference between what we would have collected in last year's tax billing versus what we did collect, and it is right at $40 million now for 1 year is our tax deficit for our Act 388.
1 year.
1 year.
How many teachers is that?
That's a lot of teachers. I can't do that math in my head. But the Act 388 state property tax relief, that comes in 10 payments to us, not 12, and it starts in October. That's why we do not have any revenue coming in under that category for July.
Okay, very good. Fee and lieu. I know we don't always know what to expect there. I see a 7.7 million figure. Just curious if you have any outlook. When would we get that?
We will probably get that in line with normal property taxes when the October tax bills. So we would receive some in November, primarily in December, January. And the 7.7 million that was in the adopted budget is based on what we collected last tax season with a 1.5% growth for this year.
And last item is, this is a small potatoes thing compared to the others, but rentals, are they lagging at this point? I mean, I know we're early in the year.
We're early in the year, but we're back in full force on the rentals, and from what we hear, we are being booked. So we are hopeful. Of course, we closed our facilities during COVID and did not allow rentals, but we are back with rentals this school year.
I appreciate that. It wasn't the dollars. I was more wondering
right.
if we were actually
open for business.
We're open for business.
Okay.
I've got two quick questions for you. I should know, but I don't remember.
Okay.
The intergovernmental revenue, the transfer from EIA.
Yes, that's part of the The new state funding formula, which our allocation is approximately $84 million. When you look at these statements, it's in two pieces. It's under state revenue, state aid to classrooms. You see the budget of $71.8 million on the second page where you see the detail. And then the other portion is under intergovernmental transfer from EIA teacher salary fringe, $12.4 million. Those two numbers make up our $84 million.
And that actually gets to my second question. Remind me, the $84 million spread out in equal 1/12 payments.
Correct.
How are adjustments handled as far as student population?
From what we understand, there will be an adjustment as in prior years with the base student cost formula. They will make an adjustment at the 45th day of school and the 135th day of school.
And so our allocation that we're receiving, this first 1/12, is based on our percentage of the total state's population as of
the 135th day.
The end of last year.
Correct. Okay. Correct. That is our understanding.
135th day, not 180th day.
Oh, no, the 135th day.
All right.
Correct, because it's based on your weighted pupil counts with average daily membership at the 135th day. Last spring.
Last spring, not in terms of raw numbers, but in terms of our share of the total public school population in the state.
Correct. So we would anticipate with our continued growth that we should still see additional revenue come in.
We're probably growing faster.
We're probably growing faster, but we're hoping the percentage pieces generate the additional revenue for us.
Other questions for Leanne on these financials?
Okay. Impact fees. To date, we have collected $52,536,322. We had a couple large days in August. So we have now collected on single-family units 1,974 and multifamily 1,382 for a total of 3,356 units. August had 15 homes, but we had 26 apartments come on, and that was pretty much in two different days for the apartments. Comparable data for 12 months, we're still about 44% less on single family, and we're still 71% more on multifamily or apartments because of that day last February. Average collections for 2021 were $800,000, and in August we had $585,000. So we weren't that far below the average monthly collections for August. So we're starting to see it's not consistent every day, but when we have some of these days where we can tell they've permitted a street.
Well, and supply chain's starting to correct itself, so.
It is interesting that pretty much all of the units in the county were multifamily, and in both municipalities were single family.
Right.
It's very hard to compare. It's very hard to compare to the same month or even the same 12 months last year with what we've experienced.
The type of building that seems to be taking place.
Correct. I mentioned last time that the procurement audit was in process. Green Finney has finalized their report, and I will send that to you all. It is not called an audit report. It is called an agreed upon procedures report when you see it and read it. That is mandated by the State Department. The State Procurement Office lists out a list of procedures that they ask all of the audit firms to go through when they do a procurement audit for school districts. We had no significant findings. Of course, they have to make a few recommendations. But just to kind of share how detailed this is, one of the recommendations is about on our P cards, we have some that have individual names of our administrators. We have some that just have our school name, and the school named cards are kept in a vault. They have a very controlled process for check-out, check-in, with it turned in with the receipt. the state procurement office would rather us not have any in school names. But we feel like we have that as a very tight process. It's a benefit for our school staff when they need to check out a card and run pick up something and bring it back. So we have written a response for that. And that is something that, that we will continue to do. And it's just always going to be one of those things the state's going to feel better if it's individualized. So I just want to share that with you when you read the report, what that's about. Also, we thought this one was sort of interesting. The state wants the audit firm to look at the time from when we receive an invoice from a vendor to when we make payment. And they noted out of all of the transactions we have, all of the checks we write in a year, they noted 4 that they felt like exceeded a 30 or 45-day payment period. And these were due to projects we had going on where we held back because we weren't satisfied with the work. We asked the vendor to come back and correct something. These weren't just things where we went to the store or online and ordered and received goods. These were projects. And so, you know, I told the auditors, I said, well, if that's the worst thing that we're doing is being very thorough and doing our due diligence on making payments, then I'll take it. I'll write the response, you know. So you're going to see that, but
Any properly operating business that has a contractor that they've asked to do anything, any homeowner would withhold funds until the job is completed to the agreed upon contract and acceptable standard.
Absolutely.
If you're not doing that, well, maybe you should reevaluate what you're personally doing.
we're very careful. Our invoices go through several checks before we make payment. So,
Keep holding the money, Joe.
yeah. We said, we're sorry that you have to write that. We understand, but we're not going to change our process. Yeah. So, and then the last thing I want to mention, we've had 2 bond sales in August. We had the installment purchase plan payment, equipment acquisition payment sale of $5.2 million. We had 3 bidders. It was awarded to First Citizens Bank at a 2.86% interest rate. And we did recently a rollover of our $25 million bond anticipation note that was in our 2018 referendum. We had 2 bidders, and we awarded that to Wells Fargo Bank at 2.48% interest rate.
Nice job.
So we've had some things going on the last month since we reported. But any questions? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We do have an action item having to do with some overnight field trips. When I saw John Ford, I thought surely he couldn't be old enough for a 25 or 30-year award, so I thought it was going to be a band trip, but apparently not.
No, not tonight. So I am bringing 2 requests to the board tonight. As a reminder, the board is required to approve any field trips that require international travel, which is not these, or that results in students missing more than 3 days of school. So both of these, the students would be missing 4 days of school. But as you may know, our 8th grade students learn about South Carolina history and U.S. history in their social studies class in 8th grade. As a culminating learning activity, Banks Trail and Forest Creek would like to take their 8th grade students to see many of the sites that they have learned about in class throughout the year. If approved, the students will be traveling to Washington, D.C. to see our nation's capital. The 2 trips differ slightly, but students will get to visit many of the sites that played an important part of our nation's history and continue to play an integral role today. They'll be visiting sites such as the U.S. Capitol Building, Arlington National Cemetery, several museums, Mount Vernon, and more. Do you have any questions about the trips?
I've got a few, but,
No, mine's just a comment.
okay. Well, I got comments too.
Okay, good.
All right, I noted that there's a difference in the package, and it looked like one of the schools is using a prepackaged plan, and where there's some benefits to that. And then the other one is more maybe the teacher or teachers made the plans.
Well, actually, since the board packet was prepared, I got more information from the other school. They're actually both using the same company. And the trips are almost identical. There's a few small differences in some of the sites they visit. So one school will be about, I can't remember offhand, like $30 or $40 more expensive. But they are both using the same travel company that specializes in trips.
And I assume that has to do with the cost of the ticket to this place versus
Right.
that place, and the dinner at one restaurant versus another.
Right. I think it was one main place they were going to that was more expensive that the other school's not going to, and also it depends on the number of students. So of course, if a school is sending more students, they get a better deal from the company. So that plays into it too.
Having planned, not to quite this large, but other large youth type activities, travel plans, I think using a company and a more or less all-inclusive package is very valuable.
Yes. Yes.
It's well worth the money. Is this a required trip for all, or is there an opt-out option?
It is not required. If students are wanting to go, and the schools, both schools have scholarships set up for students that may require need. It's a limited basis based on how much money the schools can raise, but there is, with almost all of our field trips, if not all of them, there is that built in for students in need.
Well, my comment is that I can't think of a better field trip for our students than to be able to go up and see live some of the things in the Capitol.
Agree.
Yes.
And bring it to life.
Certainly.
It gives you a whole different perspective.
I remember way back when I was in 5th grade, we did a Washington trip. This was down in Florida, and I vividly remember some of the things that we did on that trip.
So you just stole my thunder.
Sorry about
So
that.
You're way younger, so it's all good. I did this trip when I was in 6th grade, coming from Indiana, rural Indiana at that time. And I can still remember right now, when you said Arlington, I saw everything that I saw flash through my mind. That is one of the most amazing and awe-inspiring things that I have probably ever seen. The only thing that rivals it or comes close is going to Marine Corps Barracks 8th and I and seeing a parade with the silent drill exhibition and the bands and whatnot. So I love that we do this. I think that it plays in tremendously to everything that we learn and teach with regard to our history.
Certainly.
So my memory is a lot more fresh because I went 4 years ago as a chaperone with my daughter, and it was raining at Arlington National Cemetery. So it's a very distinct memory as well. That was with a different school. So while I know that we are approving, or you're asking us to approve from these couple schools that you have requests for, I would not be surprised if we are expecting other schools to have desires of doing the same, but just not at this point in their planning.
Certainly, and one of them is only missing 3 days, so it wouldn't require board approval. And I think the other two schools are looking to go somewhere similar. I think Charleston, because that's a big part of South Carolina history, which is the course too. So there are a couple other things in the works for our students in the other schools.
Fantastic. So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for the 2 requested overnight field trips that are in excess of 4 days.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for 2 schools for overnight field trips. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they're going to DC.
Thank you.
And I believe that brings us to your report.
Okay, my turn. I'll wait on Brian to get here.
Oh, hi, perfect timing.
Did they win?
Somebody's reporting
I think that means your son's team lost.
Did they have fun?
They came in second.
That's right. Did they have fun and finish second?
Character building.
Before I do my report, I'd like to take a liberty. I was not able to give the opening of school report last 2 weeks ago because of the death of my sister, and I want to thank everybody in the community, and it truly made our family feel special. All the folks that reached out and in memory of her, and I just want to thank you. I know because of her faith, heaven gained an angel, I'm sure. But anyway, thank you. Now get back to some fun stuff. Since I didn't get to do the opening of school report, I watched it, a tape of it, and y'all did great. Everybody did great. But what I'd like, before I do that, let me do the calendar events, and then I'll roll into some of the other things I want to add. You see September before you, the meeting tonight. Then we got school board visits Monday at Fort Mill High, Gold Hill Middle, Gold Hill Elementary, and TKK Elementary, beginning at 11 and ending hopefully by 1-ish. Then the school board meeting on the 20th of the month, if necessary. We get into October, school board meeting on the 4th. The dedication of the George Fish School historical marker on the 10th, and we've got some press releases out about that, I believe, Joe. On the 11th, the school board candidates forum hosted and sponsored by the Fort Mill School District Teacher Forum will be held at Nation Ford High School auditorium at 6 p.m. Then the normal meetings, the teacher workday on the 17th. I believe that's a Monday. Is that right?
It is.
Okay. Then the school board meeting the next night, if necessary. And then we did move the school board visits that month because we had some conflicts back. It was originally on the 10th maybe, or the 11th or 12th. We moved it to the 24th. So you see there Springfield Middle, Springfield Elementary, Nation Ford High, and Sugar Creek Elementary. Then on the 28th, we have the first effort at our 2-hour early release day for students and teacher planning. I think Mike, we've got a 5 or 6.
Don't we have one September 30th as well?
Did I miss that one?
Yeah, we do. That was one of my notes.
I think that's the first mistake I've ever made.
Definitely.
Anyway, okay, I didn't have that one. All right, so, and tell them, that's for teacher planning, not for...
Right, no, but just for teacher planning to work on what they feel like they need to work on most, and
We can't hold conferences and all that stuff, okay.
Yeah, and so, again,
Unencumbered time.
clarification for those that might not have heard Dr. Wakesness, it is really for teachers to have their own personal planning time. It's not meetings and such that are coordinated. It's for them to get themselves together for what they need in their classrooms.
Okay, any other dates that I missed, board members?
I leave in the morning for Atlanta for National Urban School Board Alliance Coalition. That's over the weekend, so tomorrow through, I'll be back, I think Saturday sometime.
You mentioned a couple trainings there. There's some regional advocacy meetings that are scheduled for different dates in September, a risky business conference that's in October.
There's also a, hang on, because I did actually bring that, believe it or not. The regional advocacies are going on the end of this month. Risky Business is in October. The legislative preview, there'll be a Zoom, that'll be November 2nd. Our advocacy conference is the 3rd and 4th. There was one other one, which is, oh, Beyond the Basics, the first one.
Okay.
Beyond the Basics in October, so.
And did you want to mention what the national organization is that we're joining?
So South Carolina School Boards Association has joined CASBA, which is the Consortium of State School Board Associations. We pulled out of the National School Boards Association way earlier this year. I'm going to say maybe February. We are a founding member of this new national consortium, and being a founding member with that has allowed South Carolina School Board Association, along with another 25 other state associations, to be on the ground floor to help guide the future of the National Association, and in particular to stay true to what seemed to be getting a little bit out of alignment with nonpartisanship and so on. So so far it's a good event. It's a good group. There's been a lot of work that's been done on it. I have helped in some of that, not all of it, but in some of it, working through bylaws and things like that, because, that's my jam. So, and this is the first opportunity to kind of meet some of the other state players other than the Ohio Legal Counsel that was at conference a couple weekends ago. So, looking forward to it.
Thank you.
The only other thing I noticed is that Halloween is on a Monday. I'm sorry,
Darn.
teachers. Very sorry.
That's bad.
Could be worse. It could be a Friday and a full moon.
No, because it's the next
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
It's the November 1st when we're working and kids are back in school, which makes it tricky.
Sorry.
Not Halloween itself.
Sugar high.
That's right.
Keep rolling?
Yep.
All right, the enrollment update, you had the numbers through Friday, or actually with the Monday holiday, 18,148, a gain of 69 students since the August 9th reporting. And since Friday and Monday and Tuesday of this week, I had them pull the numbers. We've grown another 20 kids Monday and Tuesday, and we've got 20 more in the queue. So pretty soon you'll see that 18,168 go to 20 more, which would be 18,188. So we're fastly approaching 18,2, and I think we're going to see that small creep as we get through the year. So, any questions about that?
Well, and it's interesting because I had compared it to the 180th day, and we were up, 350 kids roughly from the 180th day. So it's more than that. It's 370. But now if I know that from a financial standpoint, we're comparing it all the way back to the 135th day, and I'm guessing we grew more, as we always do, between the 135th and the 180th. So, yeah, so it'll be interesting to see what happens when they make the adjustment.
Yes, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out through the year if more kids begin to come back at a more than a trickle rate.
Right.
With new houses, with Elizabeth opening up.
Right.
And so we'll see.
You think that 18.6 is doable?
Oh, I think it's
Do you?
doable. I think by the time we get, I think it's, when Elizabeth starts rolling, when they have some houses pop out of the ground, that's usually when we see a.
And they're talking November closings.
Well, so I bet you when we get into second term.
Yeah.
May see some of that.
So I noticed a couple of our schools having some bubbles in kind of third, fourth grade ranges and areas, and I know that gets tricky and hair splitting just because you don't want to mid-year break up classrooms. That's not.
Yeah, we
what's
typically
best,
would
but-
add some support staff in lieu of breaking up a class that late. Peter, I don't think, there were no big areas of concern were there.
Okay. Okay.
Of course, they'd like it to be 15-1, but, you know.
Well, yeah.
Certainly, the smaller the class size, the better, but they're still manageable, it sounds like, at this point.
Okay, I'm sorry. Got it? Monthly attendance winners, Catawba Ridge High School with the high school banner 97.6, Fort Mill Middle with 98.7, and this is teacher attendance. And River Trail Elementary led the way in the district with 98.851. So good job, River Trail.
Yeah.
Okay, let me pick up where I started with the opening of school. And it's already been said, but just walking through the schools that first day, as Ms. Spears noted 2 weeks ago, just the happiness in everybody's to be back. We had students were excited, and even now today, when you go out and we're 2 weeks in, it's just it's just like the first day. It's school's fun. And you go in our schools, everything is great. I mean, and I'm glad that's where it needs to be great. The teachers, I can't thank the teachers enough. I mean, we've always enjoyed strong parental support. In fact, that's what separates us out through the years from other districts. And I say that in that we're not perfect. I mean, support can come as criticism too, but we've always had strong parental involvement. But let's face it, the real learning has to go on as far as during the school days when the teachers are in that room with those kids. And I'm just so proud of the effort. And the reason I bring that up is you saw, or you may have read online about the recently released test scores. So I had and we were very positive. We anticipated last year, based on mid-year test of MAP or STAR assessments, that we would see gains, and we did. And I think I'll predict it right now. Next year, you'll see even more gains because we weren't even, I don't think we were full. Were we full face-to-face last year, or did we? Okay, well, that was the first year back after the dip. And
We still had a lot of kids in a virtual program, but the ones that were in person were 5 days.
And I'd just like to remind everybody that we were one of the first districts to go back full face-to-face, and as soon as we could get the mask off, we did. So we've got a lot of good going on, and we were in person early on. So as soon as the law would allow us to do it, we did it. But let me read it. I had the staff pull together, and if you read the article, you know we topped all the local districts in test scores. But Matt, where's Matt Roaring? He's not in it. Okay, but he pulled this. Our testing person pulled this together. We haven't. I don't think we've looked at every district, but it looks like on those two measures, the South Carolina Ready and South Carolina Pass, we were number one in the state in every situation except for one grade. We were down by 0.1 of a, so we were number 2 in the state in that. So I don't know what else you could ask as a public and as a staff, any better effort than that. I want to thank our teachers and our kids. I mean, it's just amazing. Let me read what he gleaned out of. Continuing our tradition of excellence, our students perform well above the state average in all areas. Our ELA scores, which is English, language arts, are higher than our pre-COVID scores. In math, we saw gains in grades 3 through 7. In 8th grade math, the percentage of Fort Mill School District students meeting or exceeding expectations doubled the state average. In 7th grade, we were 1.3 percentage points away from doubling the state average. This is a little deeper dive into the data. And what I just said, comparing our scores to similar districts, and we haven't looked at every one. There may be an outlier out there but districts that are like us, we scored higher in every grade in math, ELA, and science, except for the one that I mentioned. We were beat out by 1/10 of a point. So I just say that to say the state average is not our benchmark. I mean, you know, we wanted to exceed, and we did far exceed the state average. But I think it's just an outstanding effort by our teachers. I want to thank them for their efforts. Obviously, they're doing something right, and like I said, we're not perfect. But as far as the system goes, I think we have a lot of areas to be proud of, and we can always improve. I mean, even though we may be number one, that's not we don't stop there. We keep trying to improve ourselves. So those are just right off the wall, right off the top of my head comments about the test scores. Any questions?
Yes. Maybe for Dr. Wakeness.
It probably will be.
I think there's going to be a little bit more.
I just get to read the fun part.
No, I got you. Yes. So a couple of questions here. So fantastic. Great job to everyone. Teachers, administrators, you name it. Phenomenal. Great to hear. I'm curious because now you perhaps can give us a peek under the hood, but was a very tough period the last couple of years. Mm-hmm. So the question I have for you is, what was the district's strategy to recover the learning and keep us moving forward during that time?
I think that's a great question, and I think Dr. Epps alluded to this, or he said it. You know, the thanks go to all of our hardworking people in the schools, our teachers, our support staff, our bus drivers, our maintenance people. You know, all the people that have a hand in it. But to get kind of in the particulars, we had a very detailed plan of attack on how we were going to recover the learning loss, because it's obvious that we are going to have a dip in learning when students aren't in school, and once they do come back, it's A-Day, B-Day. So we knew from the get-go we were going to have to focus. Luckily, with the ESSER funds, we were able to do after-school programs at our schools. We were able to do summer programs at our schools, just to give the students more and more help that they need. But even more so than that, and we continue to develop this with our strategic plan, our professional learning communities, which is sometimes a bad word if you're not really sure exactly what it is. But basically, it's collaborating. It's getting teachers together to use their collective expertise to see what every student needs, and developing a plan to make sure our students are provided with what they need. I think you saw a great example with the school previously with our students with special needs, our students that have different ways of learning and thinking. They're able to target towards them. So to make a long story short, I think just having a targeted approach to making sure our students are getting extra doses of instruction throughout the year, or years, since it's been more than one.
You know, Dr. Waits, just one of the things that I have been extremely impressed every time that we've gone into the schools is, you know, each one of our schools has got give or take 1,000, except for the high schools, which are obviously larger. But the administrative staff and some of the lead teachers and the grade level teachers have identified every single kid and what their specific opportunities are, right? Mm-hmm. Whether it's through a room full of pictures we saw at one school where they literally had a picture of every student, or a grid of color-coded charts and things like that goes on behind the scenes to then identify what Johnny needs and what Mary needs and what Susie needs, so that it's very customized and targeted to what their situations are.
Certainly.
Some of them refer
Extremely
to it
impressive.
as the war room. Yeah,
But I
the
think
big planning.
the most important thing is what we already know and people don't understand. The secret sauce is our teachers.
Certainly.
And by getting the children back to school in front of their teachers face to face, I think was pivotal in what we're doing. And that's why you see our scores bouncing back and exceeding so quickly, because we knew our teachers are the ones that needed to help the kids, you know, and focus on them and move forward. So,
Certainly.
and I appreciate the staff. You know, a lot of us were worried, and a lot of them were concerned about safety and so forth. But they trusted us, and we trusted them, and we worked together to do that. And I think that was one of the key points, or what made us so much, our students not lose as much, and then of course get back to where we needed to be quicker too.
Certainly. And I think, too, I want to add to that. The scores that we learned the last couple of days were grades 3 through 8. So when we say we had all these gains in 3 through 8, I don't want people to think the high schools didn't have the gains, but SC Ready and SC Pass is just 3rd through 8th grade. And sometimes we hear, you know, that's great, we're higher than the state average. That is a great thing. We're usually way higher. But then if you look at some of the national benchmarks with SAT and ACT and AP classes, we don't have the new results for that right now, and that'll change as the students take those tests. But we're always above the national average in ACT. We're always above the national average in SAT. We've been an AP honor roll district for like 10 out of the last 12 years. So I think even when you compare our academic success to the national benchmarks that are out there, we're exceeding those as well.
Well, and
Second question.
And our scores that we got back in June, our ACT, so I think that would have been the ACT scores for the previous year, increased.
Yes.
Our ACT scores in the Fort Mill School District increased from the last year's ACT
Right.
scores. So that shows that all of the STEM work and those types of curriculum has also helped our students as well.
Certainly.
Second question.
Yes.
Thank you. So I'm going to use a SWOT analysis as a guidance, and I have many strengths, certainly some weaknesses, but I'm going to call this question more of an opportunity. So even with our high performance, what are we doing to keep improving?
Going back to our strategic plan, our collaboration amongst teachers, looking at data, making sure that we are doing all the right things for each student. I think you guys may remember, or maybe not, looking at a program Schoolzilla that we have, which is one of our data tools that we are really seeing a great increase in usage of across the board, and still trying to work on that too. But that breaks everything down to everything you wanted to know about a student's performance. So continuing to try to build the staff usage, this teacher usage of that tool, and getting better and just sticking with our strategic plan. The things that we know are important, teachers collaborating, using data, looking at grading, all those things to keep us moving forward. Because even if we were at 95%, which we're not, but if we were at 95% of students meeting expectations, that's still 5% of our kids that aren't. So we're not going to say we're happy with 85% or 90%. We're going to keep working and sticking with the strategic plan.
Thank you.
Bouncing off of that, I'm sure this data comes back and it breaks it down into subgroups as well. So you can, I'm not asking for the information as to what it is, but are there subgroups in particular that you've noticed that aren't bouncing back as fast?
We have not had a chance to look at it that thoroughly at that level yet, just getting it back, but we certainly will look at it. Typically, there's gaps and opportunities and achievement across the country, and we have some of those same experiences. Usually not quite as much of a gap as other places, but that's something we'll continue to look at and work towards. But with this most recent set of data, we have not had a chance to do that yet.
But the data now is available that we can begin that
Yes.
number crunching,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Great job. Thank you.
Anything else?
Thanks.
Are we back to you? Was there anything that you
Back to
didn't?
me, I think.
Into executive session.
Well, I didn't know if he had anything else. I wasn't sure if he was done.
Did I
Did you get all your points made?
made my points?
All right.
Just once again, like Ms. McCarter said, the teachers are the secret sauce, and we publicly want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you, principals. Thank you, teachers.
We are in need of an executive session to receive personnel recommendations, discuss a legal issue, and discuss contractual issues. Can I please get a motion?
Motion to go into executive